So I think we can commence again the second half of our event. So for now, we will have the national ecosystem, which will be a panel. Within this panel will be Engineer Ghaith Al-Darmaki, the Group Chief Technology Officer at Asyad, who will be covering the sector of logistics. Dr. Michael Tang, from the founder and principal consultant for Three Pillars Consulting, Energy, Environmental and Sustainability. He will be covering the sector of sustainability and renewable energy. And Engineer Saeed Al-Hajri, the Group CEO of United Businesses, the sector of manufacturing. And Mohammed Al-Rasbi, Managing Director of the Queen Oman Technology Fund, the sector of venture capital and investment. And also Dr. Salim Al-Ghannami, CEO of Al-Shifa Hospital, from the sector of healthcare. Leading this panel discussion will be Mr. Ayman Al-Zakwani, so I would like to invite you all to the stage, please. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome again. First of all, I would like to thank our panelists of experts here to join us today in a very short invitation, I would say. So thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you. The purpose of this session is, as we said, is to really give an idea about the technological trends across the different sectors, plus also to make our affiliates aware about the different challenges and opportunities that you are facing in your sector. The purpose obviously is really to highlight to them those opportunities so they can also probably consider for pursuing them for their upcoming startup projects as well. Okay, so with the Engineer Ghaith Al-Darmaki, welcome again. So I'm sure like the logistics sector is being utilizing technology for quite a while. But how do you see startups actually disrupting the logistics show so far?
Assalamu alaikum jami'an. طبعا when it comes to logistics, especially in the last 2 years, specifically on the COVID era, there were actually a big shift in terms of how logistics will actually cater for the customers' demands. In logistics, what matters is basically how efficient it is to deliver goods and cargo to the end customer. When we talk about efficiency, definitely the technology actually play a big part on that. We've seen a lot of innovations when it comes to real-time visibility and tracking of solutions to the customers. So we're talking about here focus on data. Data is a big, domain that we need to focus. So there is a lot of startups being invested there. We've seen actually also a lot of sharing economy models where, let's say, warehouses being shared, freight forwarding being shared. Even here in Oman, we see, let's say, Talabat, or taxi, and all of that. These are sharing economy models. That is basically when it comes to the efficiency and delivering customer satisfaction to the customer. So that's, I think, COVID actually changed a lot on the logistics. There will be always focused on efficiency and productivity when it comes to logistics, and that cannot be achieved without startups focusing on a very specific areas, and that's actually evolved logistics dramatically in the last few years. And also the other bit, which is maybe not only necessarily apply to logistics, is the working practices. I think the future of work plays a big part when it comes after COVID, and our ways of working, our staff, how they work, the utilization of technology during the working environment is becoming very critical, and that is, I think it applies to all the sectors and industries. But in logistics, because we faced it during COVID, we have to deliver cargo, ships has to move, we have to deliver to the customers. I think having our stuff be able to work in the latest technologies, that was really very important.
Actually, as you rightly said, is the pandemic, helped us learn a lot of things, and not only that. Probably we noticed nowadays, even the war that happened in Europe and Ukraine, how it affected the logistics when it comes to the food supply as well. So logistics actually becoming so critical that companies need to be very, I would say, agile and responsive. And this won't be possible probably without having technology. So talking about now innovation and from a local perspective, how does actually Asyad Group benefit from the innovation ecosystem here in Oman and the startups here in Oman so far?
Very good question. I think in Oman, I will go to the same story. We're talking about having goods and delivered to the customer in a very efficient and agile way. Customers behaviors has changed over years. Now we're talking about 2 hours delivery times, 4 hours sometimes, next day, next business day delivery. And I think that is cannot be done without the focus of data. So in terms of such big domain of focus of Asyad today, we are focused on building our data capabilities within Asyad. So we are heavily investing a lot when it comes to the data and providing that data visibility to the customer. We're just starting, I would say. We are not toward the end of the journey. So we started a big project called Asyad Data Lake, which is basically aggregating all the data from all the touch points in our value chain. طبعا when it comes to the data, we need to start with the data capture. You need to capture data before you actually store it somewhere else. And I think in logistics in different sectors, we have shipping, we have also the express and all of that. I think what is missing is the data capture. We don't, definitely we can use the IoT, but here in Oman, I think we're still lacking these kind of startups who would focus on that area, despite we have actually started different POCs. So we are tied up with a startup company here in Oman where we do a digital IoT in the shipping, where we collect the real data from the engines, vibration and all of that, just to make sure that it is there. This can be done across all of the value chain. So you're talking about ports. If you wanted really to have, we know where is our assets, where are the cranes, what are the temperature and all of that. In the warehouses, basically, if we are talking about cold warehouses, it has to be temperature controlled environment. So you need an IoT there. You're talking about logistics, the express, so moving, cars, trucks, and all of that. That is basically the focus of IoT. So IoT is the first thing that we need to focus on. Yes, we are tackling that through startups, but I would encourage also people to and the new generation, if they can really focus on a very specific IoT for a very specific sector or industry. The second one is basically once you aggregate the data, you need to store it. Yes, we are utilizing the top of the notch technologies to store it, but storing the data doesn't mean that you can actually utilize it properly. So the need of data capabilities, the need of data scientists, machine learning people, experts in Oman is much needed. And I think that is still, there's a big gaps in this area. I think that is where we wanted really to reach. So that's I would be focusing on. And I think that is where we are focused today. Of course, the other things is the automation part. So automation, we're talking about two things here, is the automation through software, so imitating people, human people, for repetitive tasks. And I think we also tied up with startups here in Oman to utilize the RPAs and PPMs technologies within ASEAN. And I think that is also a good area to focus in the future for new generation, because these technologies are very easy to be learned. Anybody can learn it if you spend few hours there. But if you have a mass in the market, you can actually provide these services in Oman and outside Oman. I think that is something that we need to focus. On the other part of the automation is basically automation, the robots part, where actually in your warehouses, in manufacturing, you can actually have Omani robot, inshallah, one day that is focused in a specific industry. You can't, have a generic robot working in all the industry. You need really to be very specific. So we see in warehouses where you can actually be very efficient in fulfillment, in order management, and all of that using, the robot. And in the future, we see different modes of delivery. Let's say the drones. They are still in the, I would say, inflated in terms of their expectations. So regulation is not yet there to be, to support them. But we believe that autonomous, unmanned vehicle, unmanned, drones, and all of that would be actually one day having a very robust technology to deliver and safe technology to deliver, toward the customer. So I think that is where we focus in ASEAN, and we are tied up already with startups in Oman to do different POCs and different projects as well.
Excellent. So we understand there's quite a number of challenges we are facing here in Oman that probably startups can approach, and this is creating lots of opportunities actually for them to really innovate and come up with solutions that could serve our market. Could we name specifically some of these probably challenges and what you would probably advise our affiliates here to be really focusing on in terms of technologies that could be having good demand in the near future?
I would focus maybe challenges, but opportunities as well. In terms of challenges in Oman, and still valid, is, as I said, logistics, specifically the last mile delivery, is focused and required a very robust addressing system, and that does not exist today. The percentage of wrong addresses is really high. What does that mean? That is, you have to resend again all of these to the customers, and sometimes they are not available at home. Sometimes they are busy. That is a big cost today. And that would create an opportunity for startups to come up with a very robust addressing systems. Of course, we are relying on Google Maps and all of that, but I would still see that a very accurate, precise addressing would be required. Some of the countries went to 2x2 or 4x4 addressing system. We don't have it here in Oman. That's creating an opportunity for us. Another opportunity is basically in logistics. You have a lot of partners, stakeholders. You have the freight forwarders. You have the shipping line. You have customs. You have everything. There's a need to integrate all of this together to provide one logistics, window to the public and to the consumer. I think there is already an initiatives being taken toward this, but also that would require a very robust technology that will integrate all of this in one ecosystem. And think that's a challenge, but it's also a big opportunity. And in terms of opportunity, I will just repeat the same. Focus on what is coming. It is all about data. I always say, if we look at few years back,
It's big data.
if you look at, let's say, 50 years back, why we needed an IT system or a computer? Because people are not designed to comprehend and memorize all of the information. You need some computing power and storages to store this. And I think we are now at the edge of a lot of, I don't know, zettabyte nowadays of data that cannot be comprehended by anybody. So you needed really a very big computing power, capabilities, people, expert that would actually go and look at this data and try to come up with some of the knowledge and insights. I think that is something can be done, and it's all about focus on a very specific industry, because you can be a data scientist, but you can't, if you don't understand the industry, you will not be able to provide. And also the IoT is something that actually brings some good opportunity to the market, not here in Oman, but also in the region and globally.
Thank you, Ghaith. I think talking about a sector which is very interconnected with definitely the logistics is manufacturing. And Engineer Saeed, I have probably this question is, how do you see the local manufacturing capabilities, and how do they see them actually, their maturity level in terms of using technology today in Oman?
Yeah, Bismillah. I think it's important to distinguish between different sectors of industry in Oman. If you take, for example, oil and gas industry, I would think that we are in the frontier of leading the technology to the world. If you talk about upstream, due to maturity of this industry, and due to also to the complexity which created the need of using technology, I think we are very advanced in the frontier. Also, even if you look at the petrochemicals, we have a state-of-art chemical plants in Oman. But if you talk about the other sectors of industry, I think we're lagging behind big time. And I can summarize the reason for this lagging behind. It's availability of resources. Availability of resources, I mean in all dimensions of availability of resources. If you talk about human capital, if you talk about the financial systems availability, if you talk about technology, material. So it's very important that the young ones, I can see a lot of young ones here, is to focus on what is niche and what the advanced technology. Otherwise, you'll not be able to compete. You cannot compete with availability of resources in India or China. They will beat you. So it's very important to focus on a niche and advanced technology when you're planning your next project.
Excellent. So we need to be specialized, and we need to really get focused with technologies. So if we would actually touch base on some of these technologies, which technologies do you think would be critical for the next phase to really invest on, especially to support the development of the manufacturing sector within Oman?
Yeah, I think to be able to compete, you need to optimize. And as Ghaith explained, fundamentally, to be able to optimize, you really need two things. You need to know, and you need to control. And to be able to know is the IoTs, you need to measure, you need surveillance, you need to understand your system, you need to understand what is the inefficiencies in your systems. Once you understand the inefficiencies, then you can put the devices to be able to optimize. Otherwise, you'll not be able to optimize. So you need to measure. You need to digital transformation. You need somebody to look at this data and understand where is the inefficiency, and then to be able to optimize. And of course, to optimize, you need automation. I think the industry currently in Oman is have these systems of measuring to some extent, and there are some automation. But I think we need a quantum leap to the next level of being able to analyze these, using AI to analyze the big data and to make a better decisions. And you need robotics to increase the inefficiencies.
Excellent. So efficiency, productivity are, in order to be actually improved and increased, we need really to have a very good deployment of technology. And this actually comes back to what you just mentioned, is robotics. What is your opinion on robotics, how they can benefit the manufacturing sector? And can we really, as human, again, get afraid from actually the introduction of robotics into the factories? Will they replace really human, as they say, or do they will actually complement each other?
I think in any business you need to do your homework and calculate. Will it add value to put the robotics? Will it increase my productivity? Will I become more efficient? And if the answer is yes, then you should not be afraid to do that, because you will become more competitive. You will have a better productivity, and it will just give the human more time for quality time with their families. It will not eliminate the human capital, but it will just give quality time to people.
Thank you, Saeed. Moving to Dr. Michael here, and talking about the energy and sustainability sector. We probably hear renewables nowadays, and sustainability, quite often than before. Actually, why is this attention actually to it today? Why it is so important?
Pleasure to be here, first off. Well, I think it's a topic that's been under discussion for quite a long time, but obviously we're getting to a point of where climate change is just so much more critical, and everybody's aware of what those targets are and what that means. So I guess the easy answer here is climate change, and that is the push that is driving companies and countries and everybody to decarbonize. And specifically, it's the models that show from the IPCC, for example, what a 1.5 degree increase in global surface temperatures looks like, what a 2 degrees rise in surface temperatures looks like, and how that affects everything from logistics and transportation to manufacturing to just everyday social life. And obviously, those are big shifts that will change by the end of the century if countries and companies don't commit to some aggressive targets and decarbonize their sectors. So of course, renewable energies are part of that conversation, and so that's why you hear a lot of people talking about a switch from conventional fuels to, let's say, biofuels, or conventional electricity to renewable electricity, as well as energy efficiency, which kind of touches upon some of the things that were already mentioned in terms of optimization, automation, IoT, and that type of thing.
Wonderful. How can startups then utilize actually this interest now, rising interest and this trend in order to have, business opportunities for them?
Well, to be honest, it's such a wide field, like I was just mentioning. I mean, we have everything from renewable energy, which could be a biofuel, it could be solar, it could be wind, it could be green hydrogen, and it could be energy management and energy efficiency. It could be carbon storage. There's so many different things to identify here. And so those are a lot of what was just mentioned is kind of, let's say, conventional technologies that you need to develop, right? The carbon capture system, piece of equipment, a solar panel for renewable energy. But there's also the software side of things and the IoT side of things for managing those renewable energy projects. Or perhaps it's carbon capture, so tracking the amount of carbon that's captured, stored, making sure over a long-term period of time that it's monitored, verified, validated, that the carbon stays in the ground and tracked. So there's really kind of a wide range of different niche areas that companies could get involved in. I guess I'll just mention a few kind of close personal examples with my company, 3 Pillars Consulting, for example. So when we opened our company about 6 years ago, most of the greenhouse gas accounting was done kind of Excel sheets, Word documents, very informal. So we came up with a cloud-based system so companies could do everything centrally, and they didn't have to pass emails back and forth between their employees or their customers and clients. They all log into the same place and then start putting in some of their energy data and things like that. Very simple. I mean, nothing advanced. We're just talking about relational databases and some simple forms and widgets on a dashboard. But then going beyond that, something we were talking about before the session started was there's a need to leverage that data, right? So it's not just our software and what we've done, but lots of companies around the world, even here in Oman. So with Asiyad, they're collecting data, right? You need to do something useful with that data. So AI, for example, is one of those areas where, for example, we don't have that expertise. We haven't done that. But again, we have a lot of fuel data, electricity data, emissions data for different sectors, different unit processes. And so there's a lot of trends and things that probably could be uncovered, and then more energy efficiency could be kind of teased out of that, or we could identify more opportunities where renewable energy could be better deployed. So that's just kind of one small example where I think people could enter this space.
We can see nowadays that probably governments are taking really aggressive steps towards decarbonization and to reach into net zero, carbon neutrality. And those targets, like some of the countries have set even like dates which are pretty near. Are those actually targets probably achievable with the current technology that we have today, or innovation is still required actually to really accelerate, moving towards those targets and achieving them?
Innovation's necessary for sure, 100%. So if you look at countries and companies that are talking about decarbonization and setting roadmaps and plans, everybody's kind of in the same boat. Everybody's talking the same general language right now, which is things like fuel switching, electrification with renewables as the electricity source, energy efficiency, energy management, green hydrogen, and then kind of as a fail-safe, the carbon capture side of things. And all of these, so some technologies have been developed, right? We have solar utility power plants, we have wind power plants and things like that, but things like green hydrogen, a very early stage development at the moment, but pushing quickly. And there's various stages of that story, so blue hydrogen versus green hydrogen versus others. But a lot of the technology doesn't necessarily exist right now, or at least at a cost-effective standpoint. So if you, again, going back to the roadmaps, there's usually a big gap. There's a lot of companies that are saying our net zero targets or a country are saying, like Oman, our net zero targets are 0 by 2050. We have a few near-term projects already ongoing, whether it's like IBRI 2 solar project or the Dhofar 50 megawatt solar project or a few proposed green hydrogen projects. But those don't cover everything to get to net zero. And then beyond those near-term, let's say up to 2030 targets, there's a big gap. What happens between 2030 to 2050 to decarbonize? And then that's again where we get to this kind of fail-safe of carbon capture and storage. Something that Oxy, which is obviously a supporter of this program, is quite involved in, and they've made big announcements on carbon capture. But other local companies, 4401, I think everybody's probably familiar with, they're also working on this and trying to capture carbon, inject it into the ground, mineralize it so that it stays permanently stored in the geology, which is a really nice, innovative, kind of unique project, and we'll see how successful it is. But those are the types of ideas that need to be explored, need funding, need fresh minds and things like that to get involved in.
Excellent. So there's, again, lots of actually potential for this area to come up with new innovations, to have probably better sources of clean energy and which are more efficient, obviously, and productive as well. So if we would like to make it pretty simple, maybe simpler to the affiliates here, what is your advice actually? Which areas probably they can explore where there are probably opportunities for them actually to address as startups?
Well, it's hard for me to pinpoint one area as we were just discussing. I mean, there's lots of different angles and entry points into this story of decarbonization. And I'm not sure what everybody's expertise necessarily is here, if everybody's just on the software side and those types of things. But again, I'll just kind of draw on our company's experience as a consultancy and kind of entering this space of software and data, albeit from a very simplistic point of view, is that, you know, the entire carbon economy, or decarbonization and the carbon economy, however you want to look at it, depends on digital flows of this information. So it's not just about taking, for example, the carbon out of the atmosphere and storing it, but certifying it and ensuring that this is tracked, traced, and validated over time. And this is important, obviously, for the science. You want to make sure these types of carbon reductions actually happen and are measured and are tracked. But carbon is also going to be traded. So carbon is a commodity itself. It's not any longer just about the oil and gas or the hydrogen or things like that, but the amount of carbon intensity you have. So I think the big space here is on platforms, exchanges, measuring tools that help support these projects and can track carbon all around the world, because everybody's going to be exchanging this data at some level. And you see that with regulations coming out of the EU right now. So CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, is entering into effect. Well, phase 1 is January of 2023, and then the taxation comes in January of 2026. Essentially, countries like Oman that want to export, say it's in the aluminum industry, if they want to export into the EU, they will have to share information on the carbon intensity of their aluminum production so that the EU knows how much to tax them on. And for this, you need a validated, verified, kind of audit trail of carbon that goes around. And then I'll just mention Oxy again, since they're a supporter of the program, and it kind of connects these dots. You have companies like Oxy heavily looking at carbon capture and utilization and storage, but they're also working with partners like Carbon Finance Labs to do this exact thing, tracking, digitizing that ton of carbon, putting it into a platform, creating an exchange in which companies can trade that carbon globally, and then making sure that carbon reductions actually happen, are real, not redundant, and so forth.
Excellent. So if we talk about sustainability, is it only applicable to the energy sector, or it could be actually it's very important, becoming very important, increasingly important across the different sectors?
No, it's important for all sectors. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, carbon emissions are 75% related to energy in some form or the other, whether it's transportation or heating and cooling in buildings, but energy as a whole is 75% of all emissions. And then, of course, all companies somehow use energy, whether it's electricity or if they use fuel for combustion in reformers, kilns, and things like that. And so everybody has their own direct or indirect influence on how much fuel and how much energy is consumed globally. So it's everybody's part of this story, for sure.
How is it getting nowadays relevant to startups particularly?
For startups, in terms from what angle? Like startups, like the people that are in this room, or startups that companies that will be using energy and consuming energy?
Any startup, actually, for fact.
Well, energy for any company that's entering, let's say from an industrial manufacturing point of view, those types of things, you're going to be impacted significantly by how much energy you use in the future, whether it's from the direct pricing of different fuel sources, electricity, or if it's a taxation on that carbon. So that's something you have to take into consideration in your business model, your risk management model, and things like that. And then, of course, for companies like yourselves, or startups like yourselves, being able to support companies to understand that information, those risks, how to manage, monitor, and verify would be extremely useful.
Absolutely. We can see even nowadays trends, even investors now started to evaluate sustainability as one of the elements in addition to the business model, which is actually, they are measuring impact in addition to, the business model and the financial model. Excellent. So we move to Dr. Salim El-Ghanami and talk about the health sector. Can you give, just in a quick glance, how emerging technologies actually is reshaping, the medical field, whether we are talking about the physical or mental health, or even the well-being of the human beings?
Thank you for having me today here. And actually, when we talk about the health sector, it's a very complex sector, and it's not easy to summarize all what is happening today in the health sector. Talking about technologies in health sector, it is one of the sectors which utilize the technologies long time. Utilize it in diagnosis, utilizing in treatment, and I think they have been achieving a very good level of technologies in today's practice. And it is a continuous, innovation, if you say it, in technologies, which is taking the diagnosis into more accuracy. So when we talk about the health sector depends on main pillars. It depends on accuracy, which technology is taking the main part of it. We talk about patient safety. Again, technology is taking a major part on integration of all the practices, all the tests, all the procedures done by all the machines, which is again a pure technology, into the diagnosis, which is done with the support of all the expertise in the healthcare. So these are the major components in the health sector, which depends mainly on technologies. It is the patient safety, it is the accuracy, and it is the quality of care developed. So when you talk about health sector, you cannot deliver it without the technologies which started as a long time, and it is every day like, you know, a continuous innovation in healthcare.
And as they say, prevention is better than cure. So we can actually now probably notice that probably health applications and health even devices, probably even like smartwatches nowadays, they help into bringing prevention into the picture, like tracking the number of steps, doing ECG, heartbeats, and all of these probably were only possible in the past by visiting, you know, one of the medical centers. But now, so Apple Watch actually probably predicts if you would, you know, probably have a heart attack, and it could actually notify you ahead of time to probably go and check, you know, do a checkup and visit the doctor. So this comes to what is called like personalized medical devices, and which is again a huge actually opportunity nowadays. So what are the other applications that you probably foresee? It could be opportunities actually for startups to look at when it comes to prevention.
I agree with you that prevention is very important in the health sector, and public health, you know, the major component of any national health system is a very well, you know, recognized and important sector. So talking about prevention, there are so many, you know, opportunities to go and start in the industry. Talking about personalized watches, this is one part, but it's not enough. It can give you some parameters on your daily activities, on your heart rate, on your blood pressure, which is you know, one of the advanced monitoring systems currently is there in the market. But there are so many other opportunities for the startups to come with. For example, like saving life. Saving life is one of the most important, you know, even courses, as life courses is run, and it is driven mainly by you know, the devices to save life, which we call it like AED, automated external defibrillators, which can save a life in 90% of cases, which for the cardiac arrest happening like outside of hospital. And for this, we encourage that more training institutes to come up and to train not less than 5% of any organization. That is the overall recommendation. And doing this, you will have so many people who are having this training to save life. This is one of the you know, the most important training which should be given to all like, you know, different population and different age population, I mean. There are other applications which should be developed, which can help on like monitoring chronic diseases. When we talk about chronic diseases, most of these chronic patients, they don't go to hospitals. They don't go because maybe the lack of awareness. They think this is fine to go in this way, so that is an educational part. But at the same time, also the lack of applications. We don't have that much applications which monitor patients at home, at their work, which can be integrated to their you know, physicians, which is highly needed and recommended, which will make the life of that patient is easier, and also the plan for treating his chronic condition is much easier. So this application, which we call it patient applications, should be developed in all aspects: monitoring, treating, diagnosing. So that is one like of the opportunities, and you can we say in hospitals, how easy the process is. So that is can be linked into the HIS, the Health Information System, by integration of all these applications to the HIS, which will again make it easier to diagnose and to follow these diseases, and by integration of all the hospitals in the country. So I'm not speaking about Oman only, but coming back to the data importance, it is very important to have these systems, all the HIS, to be connected, so all the practitioners will be able to have the history of that patient. Even if the patient today he is in Salalah, tomorrow he is in Musandam, that physician will be able to review the file of that patient. So again, here this is all great opportunities for the startups, and to integrate all these patient applications with the HIS and with the treating physicians.
Probably health is one of the definitely sensitive also subjects. Most of these innovations sometimes needs to be well tested, and they take time. They might need to gain also certain accreditations. So what is your advice to actually the startups who would like to pursue this domain? Okay, how they should approach this subject? How to have really access to the right resources or support, in order to be able to innovate in this field?
So if you go to the innovation, I have seen it in some of the most advanced centers or hospitals in the world, where you will have different lines of treatment. So you will have, for example, in the rehab centers, for example, you will have the physiotherapist who is line number 1. Then line number 2 is the physician who is modifying the way how we rehab that patient. Then the third line is an engineer who is designing and inventing the new machines and technologies. So answering your question, I will advise everybody to know the health sector. To know the health sector, either they are part of the treatment team, who they join as a volunteers, they join as they have the background of medical care, to know and to reach the service design. Now there is a new trend in healthcare where they design the service. They design a service for rehab, they design a service for somebody who's with a chronic disease, they design a service for a patient just coming for a medical checkup. So I will advise everybody to involve more in the healthcare and to know better than about the system itself. I know hospitals is some places where most of the people, they don't like to go in. They are not a pleasant places. But whoever is interested to have any business related to the hospital care, I will encourage them to go explore, to be part of a team throughout the regulation which is within that institute or within the country. So that's my advice, is to get involved and to know the sector.
Thank you, Doctor. Moving to Mr. Mohammed, and talk about now the investment side of startups. So we talked probably about the challenges side of the industries, and we talked about the different opportunities that are there. But obviously, startups themselves face their own challenges, right? And they face their difficulties sometimes to really support their startup to be able to become operational. They might need funding, they need to hire the right team. And Mohammed is coming from an investment venture capitalist background. So my question to you is, what are you looking at before you consider investing in any startup?
Thank you very much for having me today. The main thing we look at usually is to look at the execution, because at the end of the idea, everyone can have an idea. So right now, if anyone's keeping track of the different ideas that were listed today, at least 20, 30, maybe even more if you branch off into different spaces, but the main thing is execution. Now, in 2022, or almost 2023, information is available, and a lot of research can be done before you start doing anything, before you start executing. So your initial execution should be in analyzing the space, the problem, and can you actually solve that problem? What are the potential solutions? So we usually look at teams and to a certain extent, do they have any experience in that space or not? Oman is a bit different because we have a very young population, and we don't have a lot of multinational companies here where people can go and have the luxury of working in. Other countries, they do have that luxury, so we have to find a hack to this problem. One way is to actually look at startups. So for me, if it wasn't in Oman or somewhere else, I would say go and get a job somewhere and try to get that experience. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury here, so next best thing is go and try to find a startup you can work in. If you don't have that, start a startup. But even before you start your first step, realize what problem you're trying to solve. And just having an idea from your head, everyone has ideas, but then you have to actually look at the execution part. Sometimes we invest in startups that are facing difficulties in getting licenses. Some will take 2 years. Some of them were doing very well before COVID, and after COVID they stopped operations because most of their startup revolved along the lines of engaging with people. So COVID came, they could not continue. So execution is something very important. Doing a bit, just before coming here, I got a call from someone. I was telling him, go and search on Google just how to prepare a pitch deck. He asked me, can you send me a link? I'm like, so for me, automatically, when somebody says that to me, automatically, it's a big X. Why? Just to clarify one thing, VCs, not me, but VCs in general, all they care about is money. They'll invest money into your company, and then the whole idea behind this is that your company will increase in value when another investor invests in you. If they don't see that they can actually present you to the next investor, they will not invest. Because they care about is money. Because also, by the way, investors have to go and find money from other investors. So it's a value chain. And the more you actually show potential investors that you're willing to do the work, you have a high chance of actually receiving that investment. So that's one part. I can go more, but if you have another question, and then I'll continue.
Yeah, sure. So when the startup can really know that they should go for funding or not?
So I always say this, never ever take money from people. Because the moment you take money from people, you will be an employee of that person. Regardless, if you own 100% of your company, the only person that is able to have successfully done this is Mark Zuckerberg, where he can never be fired. Why? Because he has what's called super shares. So even his board of directors cannot fire him. Obviously, after he's done that, no one else in their mind, I know other investor will agree to that terms anymore. You should only seek investment when you really need it. And when they really need it is that you found a problem that needs to be validated. And usually, again, we're at a time where it's very simple and very easy, especially if you're doing software, something along the line of software. If you're doing hardware, yes, it can be tricky. But if you're doing software, a lot of things can be done very cheaply. Almost sometimes even for free. You can get a lot of perks, free solutions to get access to free solutions very easily. So you can actually validate a lot of things. And that process is you don't need money for that. Now the question is well then how do I support myself? Again, this is where it gets tricky. Do you go and take money to fund yourself, to pay for your fee, to basically live off it? Or try to find a job, or do this part-time? I cannot answer that question for everyone, but usually the best way to do this I'm assuming most of you are, some are graduated, some are still in university, if I'm not mistaken. Those who are in university, I would recommend you do a lot of this validation while you're still at university, because a lot of it can be done easily. Those who have graduated, while you're trying to search for a job, use that time to go and look at potential problems that have been listed. By the way, anyone that works on any of these problems that have been listed here, I'm willing to invest in. Why? Because they're listing problems that they're listing. And one thing, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been looking around the entire everyone here, I only saw a few people writing notes. Most of you have not been writing notes. And those of writing notes, I kept track of them. If they come back later on, there's a high chance I'll present them to the investment committee to get investment. Why? Because this is gold. You'll only know this after a period of time. Once you start starting your startup, getting access to people, subject matter experts that will actually give you their time and will explain the problems is always difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's not easy. So always, whenever somebody's telling you something, listen to them. It doesn't have to be that you have to do it exactly the same, but at least to give you an indication. I don't want to reveal our ages, but I'm assuming we have some experience. So whatever advice we give you actually has some weight. And for us as investors, we always look at just to clarify, not this first startup, not your next one, but the third one, the fourth one, because usually there's an average. Usually founders will start in their lifetime 2 to 3 startups, regardless of age. They will start 2 to 3 startups, some will do more. And because of that, we don't look at this startup, we look at the next one and the one after that. We're interested in long term, not short term. So my recommendation is ask for money only when you need it. And the tricky is trying to do your homework beforehand. And there's a lot of tools online, and there's a lot of tools here as well that you can utilize and help you in validating. Because validation is very simple, it's not very difficult. And validation, most startups fail because of the market size. They do not size the market properly. And part of innovation is actually sizing the market. تحجيم حجم السوق. That's one. Second is, if you come to us and say, we want to do something in distant Oman, I will automatically say no. Why? Because Oman is a very small market. Come, validate in Oman, but go outside. Oman is the perfect place, in my opinion, perfect place to validate a lot of problem sets. Once you validate something, always look outside. Let's take the example of 44.01. I don't know if anyone's been following the news. They received an award yesterday. I think it was 1.6 or above $1 million. They received an award by. Yes. So they received. Why? They did their homework. Okay, they had to apply. They have to go through a lot of things. What happened? Now they got money, but also they got investors. And you know what? One thing to know: they're not looking for investors at the moment. Why? Because they have enough revenue to be able to sustain themselves. The more you can do that, the better place you'll be in.
Wonderful. What a piece of advice. Thank you, Mohammed. So obviously, from experience, we've been seeing lots of founders been making mistakes,
yes.
Right? And unfortunately, those mistakes had really caused them actually probably to go out of market very soon. So could you highlight some of these mistakes that co-founders usually, or founders actually usually make, so it can be avoided by the affiliates in the future?
Sure. So you actually said something which is good, co-founders. Usually the way a lot of startups fail, so first problem is the size of the market. They don't understand the size of the market properly. Second is team dynamics. I know a lot of you might have come here and you're forming teams here. It always gets very tricky, especially if the team has 5, 10 people. It's very difficult. How do you split up that stake of the pie itself? And it's not by numbers. It has to also be by who anyone's putting money on the table, who's going to put in the time, who's there full time, who has connections. These all needs to be assessed. And again, there are tools online that will help you to assess more or less how to split the pie. So again, now is the best time to start anything. Because with no money, you can actually assess a lot of problem sets. So that's number two. Most of the problems that people actually face is that they're solving the wrong problem. They don't assess the problem correctly because they will say, I know what the people want, so I will not talk to customers. I will go and this I'm saying this from experience. Spent a lot of money working in the dark, trying to solve a problem that I thought was amazing, but that no one else knew about it, and I got very creative. It was amazing, but then when you go to the market, no one was willing to pay for it. I was like, I'll do it for free. Somebody did it for free. They did not want it. So then the problem is you did not understand the problem is you didn't understand the problem. So how do you understand the problem? Actually go and talk to customers. And again, there are tools that will help you on how to actually ask the questions. And one big advice I want to give you, never ever go to a customer and says, I'm building this solution, will you buy it? 9 out of 10 times they'll say yes. When you build it and you go back again to them, maybe 1 out of 10 will buy it, maybe, if you're lucky. Never ever present your solution to customers. Always ask them questions to understand what are the different problems that they're facing in their business. So let's take the example of logistics, last mile delivery. You're dealing with the businesses, enterprise, and they come to you and they start talking. It's like, okay, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing today? We don't know where the customers are. They tell us, they send us their WhatsApp location, we go there, it's not the right location, we waste a lot of time until we reach that person. We could have done 20 deliveries a day, but because of that, it ended up being 5. You start talking to them. You talk to one business, you talk to another business, try to do research online, see other people elsewhere, and when you find when you find a decent problem, go find for a solution that was actually developed elsewhere. Investors like when there's actually other people have solved the problem somewhere else. Because you have the local expertise, you can do something different here. But if there's something you can compare to that, then there's a likelihood that you receive investment. The fact that you're doing something from scratch, no one else did, the likelihood of receiving investment is almost, not zero, but close to zero. Why? Because most investors hate taking a risk. They want to see there's a path that someone else has already taken. So that's not understanding the problem. Next is the solution. You found a problem, now you're building a solution. The solution can be, you can iterate the solution, and solution could be a WhatsApp group. It doesn't have to go and build a mobile app. I have to spend all this time and money, and then realizing actually that app is worthless. A WhatsApp group, it could be a Google form. People don't care how you're delivering the solution. It's the value out of that solution. And once you come to a point where it's clear, then you can actually build a full-fledged solution. Then you only go to investor and say, Investor X, I have this problem, it's targeting this size of the market, and we believe we've found a decent solution that actually will be useful for them. Give us X number of money and we'll give it to you. I don't know if many of you know this, but Adam Newman is the founder of WeWork. He just raised $1 billion, he raised $350 million at a valuation of over $1 billion. And he still has not launched. Pre-seed. At OTF, we invest $50,000 for 7%. That gives you a valuation of $715,000. He was able to raise $350 million without anything, without even launching the product. And by the way, his last startup, he screwed up big time. His company was supposed to be valued IPO at roughly $50 billion because a lot of ethical issues. They kicked him out, and when they kicked him out, they gave him they gave him $1.7 billion. Okay, and after 2 years, the company was IPO'd at I think around I can't remember the exact number, it was around 10 to 20 billion dollars, and he still owns $2 billion shares of that company. So what does that tell you? He was able to actually find a problem that people are willing to actually invest in. So that's one. Second is you need to sell not the fish in the sea. You have to figure out how to sell the idea that there might be fish in the sea. This is something you have to think about constantly. You're not selling the fish in the sea. You're selling the idea that there might be fish in the sea because VCs, and hopefully there's no VCs here, it's legalized gambling. Because we don't know exactly if this is going to be successful or not. Okay, this is being recorded. Okay, so we don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but the only thing we can test, or the only thing we can assess, is you as a team. Have you done your homework or you have not? If you've done your homework, then it's willing to make that bet. And by the way, whenever a fund invests in 100 startups, the expectation is that 80 of them will fail. Why? Because for so many different reasons. Only 20%, maybe even less, will actually return the entire size of that fund. So again, team, understand the problem, leave the ego at home, don't bring it to the office or wherever you're working. Cutting the cake by numbers doesn't make sense. Assess the percentage. And sometimes, by the way, you can actually, I've seen this where it's being done. Assessing the percentage of the company is done after a period of time. It's not done at day one. Day one can be assigned roles. Okay, you come from financial background. Okay, you're responsible for the money part. You're from product or design. You're responsible for these areas. But actually, cutting the cake is done maybe 3, 4, even 6 months after. Because after that, you'll understand, can you continue or cannot continue? So these are different problems that I think you should highlight.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's very important to have an agreement on the shares of the pie. But more important is to agree on the values. You will be buried with the team that you're working with. You'll be working with them for really long time. So you need to agree on the values from day one. What are your values? What you stand for? Otherwise, when you face the conflict on values, then you'll have a disagreement. And that's where the problem starts. Another mistake is if you have a project which is too big, you know it's too big for you, don't keep it with yourself. Share it. Invite expertise, or invite investors to come and work with you. These are 2 mistakes from experience.
I'm sure you learned it the hard way.
Let me just add one point. I agree with you, but unfortunately some must have it, so that's why I'm said leave it at home. But to the point that was raised, as far as values, it's very important. A lot of people don't underestimate values. And by the way, whenever you start a startup is one thing, SME is something else. A startup, usually when you start one, the exit, you're going to sell it at either it fail. Hopefully quickly, not it'll take too long. But if you're successful, the likelihood you'll be either acquired by another company or you'll IPO. That's the successful exit for a startup. So startups have kind of a time limit. So whenever you're starting this, that's part of the value. So if you're starting something and you say this is going to be a lifestyle business, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if one person thinks of it as a lifestyle, another one wants an exit, a lot of decisions that are made during that journey will cause a lot of problems. So you need to discuss this from the beginning. But again, to the point, values is very, very important. Because especially when you're running a startup, sometimes you can get into some ethical issues. Let's say, for example, running a health app. That gets very tricky. Okay, how do you protect people's information? There are regulations, but again, I think it was Uber. I don't know if people are watching. There's a show on WeWork, on story on WeWork and Uber as well. Uber was actually watching people in the cars, okay, without them knowing. And then when Apple found out, what did they do? They went and did a trick where they geofenced whoever from Apple in Apple's offices. When they review the app, they see that the problem has been fixed. But actually, in real life, it's not. So if your values, if both of you don't care about, you can be unethical, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But as long as both of you agree on things from the beginning. So, thank you.
Thank you, panelists. Lots of actually information, very insightful, great advices, I would say. Let's have the ground for the affiliates now to ask any other question they have. Please feel free. Do we have mics? Anyone have a question? فرصتكم.
أي حد عنده سؤال يرفع يده عشان نوصل للمايك.
ما حدا يريد فلوس؟
الأخ في الخلف.
So I would like to share my ideas, you said, but how can I make sure that my idea don't get stolen? Like, you obviously someone have the same interests, right? So what's the method?
Okay, so usually, and I say this with the utmost respect and everything, no, it's almost impossible for you to have an amazing idea that no one else has had. Because if your idea can easily be copied, then it's not really worth protecting. So, for example, we don't ask our startups to go and file for patents. Because if you don't have the money to hire the lawyers to fight, then it's not worth it. Execute as fast as possible and try to differentiate yourself and your unique value proposition to your customers. That's one. I would highly recommend whatever idea you have right now and you're afraid that people will steal it, go and talk to as many people as possible. Okay? Try to see how many of them will actually steal it. If someone is willing to steal it, then maybe that's a potential co-founder for you. Okay? So you should think of it differently. If you think that your idea is and by the way, we don't sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. I remember when COVID hit, we were doing, people were pitching to us remotely. I had someone from India pitching an idea, and then after him exactly someone else from Nigeria. If I put both of them next to each other, you would say they're co-founders. They were almost exactly almost exact pitch deck, almost exactly the way they presented, almost everything was exactly the same. So the likelihood that your idea is unique is low. If you're seeking investment, if your idea is very, very unique, you'll have a hard time raising funding. Why? Because most people say, okay, show me someone else who has been successful doing this. And you won't be able to show that. So then you have to actually either have a patent or something unique about you. But I highly recommend go share your idea. This is a good space because everyone's trying to find a good idea. Share it, and then if anyone actually is successful doing it, then you know it's your idea.
Thank you.
We have any other question? ما عندكم أسئلة؟ غريبة. Startups are always curious, by the way, right?
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
معكم طارق نعماني. طبعا أنا دارس التسويق إنزين، فموجه سؤال لمحمد الحجري، الأستاذ محمد الحجري.
راسبي.
فأنت تتكلم عن الاستثمار، فأنا سؤالي كيف أنتم مثلا تجذبوا الاستثمار من الخارج؟ لأن أنا بحثت في السوق ولكن ما في عندكم الماركت ريسيرش في عمان، نقص واجد يعني قصدي، فهمت علي؟ فمثلا كم في السنة باع لابتوب، كم في السنة، ففي لاك لوت اوف داتا. I am not sure but I want confirmation منكم أنتم تفيدونا طبعا يعني.
قصدك من ناحية الماركت سيرفيز ولا ماركت ريسيرش؟
ماركت ريسيرش.
ماركت في شركات كثيرة في عمان موجودة في المجال. فالحلو في عمان واللي ما حلو في عمان إنه في أشياء كثيرة موجودة والناس ما يعرفوا عنها. كذا بالصدفة تفاجأ إنه واحد صار له باع طويل في مجال معين، لكن في معلومات موجودة. وشطارتك تكون إنك كيف توصل لهذه المعلومات. وإذا أنت توصل لهذه المعلومات وتعرض للمستثمر وهو فاهم أصلاً كيف الصعوبة اللي حصولها المعلومات، في احتمال كبير إنه ممكن تحصل على الاستثمار. فهذه نقطة. النقطة الثانية، أنت ما لازم تضبطها 100% على عمان، ممكن تروح لدول ثانية مشابهة وتشوف إنه كيف حجم السوق العماني وعدد الناس اللي موجودة في عمان، وبعدين تشوف الدول مشابهة أيوة وتشوف ممكن تكون أكبر وعندها معلومات، بعدين تسوي نوع من تحسبها أيوة. ما لازم تكون 100% بالضبط يعني، خاصة في البداية. بعد فترة أنت بتحصل من تبدأ عملك، بتحصل على المعلومات تعطيك مجال إنك تحدد معلوماتك بطريقة تكون أدق. إن شاء الله جاوبت على سؤالك.
واضح هو، لكن في نقطة ثانية اللي فهمته من قصدك إنه لازم تسوي أنت سورس مالك تدور بوحدك، يعني ما في بابليك وما تحصل
لا
بابليك.
في مراجع ممكن ترجع لها، في مراجع موجوده، في مراجع عليك تدفع لها. في مراجع انت ممكن يعني هذه ترجع في النهايه احدى طرق الابداع انك كيف تحجم السوق. حد ينظر للسوق بطريقه وشخص ثاني ينظر بطريقه مختلفه تماما. بحكم انك انت نظرت بطريقه مختلفه يعطيك مجال انك انت تتفوق في شركتك، والشخص الثاني لانه يقول والله ما هذا السوق صغير جدا ما منه فائده، ويروح ويعدي ويروح لمكان ثاني. فهذا اللي دور. فانت حصولك على المعلومات او بحثك عن المعلومات هذا ايضا جزء من عملك، ولازم انت يكون هذا نوع من الابداع. للعلم لو المعلومات سهله كنا سويناها، صح ولا؟
صحيح. شكرا، بارك الله فيك.
أحسنتم. نشكر الباناليست لحضوركم اليوم معنا، شرفتونا.
شيء سؤال هنا؟
أعتقد يمكن الوقت ما أدري في عندنا مجال.
The thing is we have our entrepreneurs also. Maybe we can take one more question if someone has.
السؤال الأخير.
Who has the question?
هنا شيء سؤال؟
Okay.
شيء سؤال.
السلام عليكم. اسمي محمد. بس يعني بغيت أعرف هل في اللوجيستيك يعني إذا هل بالمقدور يعني إنه بدل ما يرسل لوكيشن يعني يكون في تراكنج يعني.
ارفع صوتك شوي لو سمحت، مش واضح صوتك.
هل بالإمكان الكاستمر يكون تراكنج يعني في تراكنج إذا يستخدم الأب يعني وين مكانه لوكيشن؟
قصدك يعني إذا كان الكاستمر اللوكيشن مال الكاستمر ولا؟
ايه اللوكيشن مال الكاستمر. هل
طبعا هذا في تحدي هنا في عمان، لكن ان جنرال في اذر كونتريز في الدول الاخرى في تطبيقات معينه تحصل لك عناوين، لدرجه انه في بعض الانظمه او بعض الدول راحت الى ادرسز ل 2 متر باي 2 متر. فتخيل يعني دي ميجر 2 متر في 2 باي 2 يعطيك ادرس معين. طبعا this is extreme، يعني احنا ما نطلب هذا الشيء، لكن في احتياج في عمان، واعتقد في مبادرات ولكن لا زالت يعني ما شفنا النور فيها، انه to have a proper addressing system في البلد. وهذا يعني هذه فرصة للشباب انهم يطوروا بعض الأنظمة الى تكون دقيقة بشكل كبير في البلد، وممكن ايضا تفيد الدول الاخرى، لان عندك السوق ايضا مثلا السوق الافريقي اعتقد بيكون في ايضا يعني فرص كبيره في السوق الافريقي وبعض الاسواق الاخرى اللي هي not yet developed يعني.
شكرا.
شكرا لكم جميعا.
ما شاء الله guys، يعني صليتكم على النبي. You've addressed a lot of problems, and each problem can be seen in different perspective. Each perspective can be considered as an opportunity. So guys, in this hall, there is a lot of opportunities. Please grab it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a very excellent, actually, closing comment. You saved it and you said it. Thank you very much, everyone. I wish you all the best with the program. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor having you and for the great insight as well. Take care and see you soon, inshallah.
So we'd like to thank the national ecosystem for their insightful input, and also to highlight that the person who closed the speech was actually one of the previous affiliates who finished the program and was awarded the third place, which was الجمعية. And he got the third place. For 2 minutes or 1 minute, Khalid, if you would like to just give them a very fast experience, just to boost them very fast. If someone can give him a mic. And meanwhile, Khalid is giving his, Abdullah is giving his insightful knowledge, I would like to also invite the freelancers who we have in this program. One of them is an English freelancer as an English private tutor, and also a real estate freelancer, digital artist, and copywriter. So, Budur, Abdusalam, Asala, and Mohammed, if you would come to the stage. Thank you very much.
السلام عليكم. أهلا وسهلا. دوت نكست يعني حاجة عجيبة من الأخير، حاجة تخليكم تقويكم قبل أن تقوي أي حد ثاني. يعني دوت نكست من فيس 1 أنتم صفايين على أساس أنكم توصلوا لل 1200 شخص، وبعدين صفيتوا مرة ثانية على أساس توصلوا للي أنتم واصلين عليه الحين 400 شخص. والأحلى من ذي كله لما بتوصلوا ل 100 شخص، هناك تصدق تبدأ المتعة. هناك راح تكون تخوضوا تجربة يعني أسميها تجربة الأحلام. بمعنى هذه التجربة راح تكون على حسب اللي احنا خذيناها كانت بوت كامب. في هذا البوت كامب انت تطلع كل اللي تقدر عليه، راح تنام وراح تقوم وانت مؤمن انك جالس تسوي شيء لنفسك، ما يسوي شيء لغيرك، لمديرك، لشركة، لوزارة، لأي حد، لك انت بالنفس. يعني لو بغينا نقارن شغل الموظف بشكل عام، الموظف بشكل عام لما يبدأ يتكلم أو لما يبدأ يشتغل لنفسه، يشتغل لنهاية الراتب، إن أنا في نهاية الشهر بحصل راتب معين، والشركة بعد نفس الشيء، سواء كان يعني في شركة أو في حكومة. ولكن لما تقوم من النوم وأنت عندك هدف إن أنا بإذن الله سبحانه وتعالى اليوم بسوي خطوة للشركة اللي أنا فيها أو خطوة للفكرة اللي أنا فيها، اليوم بشوف الماركت كيف أموره، وبكرة بشوف من هم الناس اللي بيشتروا مالي البرودكت، واليوم اللي بعده خطوة ورا خطوة ورا خطوة الله سبحانه وتعالى هو اللي يفتح لك الباب، ويفتح لك بدل الباب عشرات الأبواب. هذه كانت بدايتنا في دوت نكست، ووصلنا بتوفيق الله سبحانه وتعالى للمركز الثالث. فإن شاء الله من ال400 اللي موجودين إن شاء الله يبقى الأفضل، وإن شاء الله يفوز الأفضل والأفضل بينكم. الله يوفقكم إن شاء الله، تمنياتي لكم بالتوفيق، والله يحفظكم إن شاء الله. في أمان الرحمن.
شكرا عبد الله، شكرا. Okay. These are your affiliates, by the way. These are your affiliates, your fellow persons who are with you in this program. And we will start by introducing Budur Al-Alawi, who is Budur Al-Maqbali. We do apologize, there is a mistake in the family name. She's a freelancer as an English teacher who provides sessions for different people who would like to improve their English, and she will give you a brief. Please.
شغل. My journey from a student to a freelancer. Since the very beginning of me pursuing my learning as a young enthusiastic student, I loved the professions of teaching, and I told myself that I would be a teacher like the kind English teacher who taught me. Unfortunately, God has another say, and I have to choose another major, which in fact was not bad at all, but my love and passion for English has no limits. One day, I saw an advertisement for .next jadeer, and I was curious. I searched the site for the previous success story that started from here, which made me on fire to the desire to be like them. So I see myself like a fresh graduate, and I don't want to miss any moment without taking advantage of that. I joined .next jadeer, which does not only promote not only the skills that I need in my field, but also give me a real-world experience. I thrive on English, and teaching it as well. But I will never forget my degree and its pleasure. I'm planning to enhance and improve my skills in both of them, which is not easy but manageable. I have no ceiling for my dream but the sky. The fire on me refuses to settle down no matter what. That's me, and those were my thoughts and feelings. Thank you for hearing me out.
Just to ask you a few questions, Badur. So, your journey as a freelancer, do you have any potential of, for example, becoming a company or, for example, becoming an institute that actually provides, let's say, courses and has many people under you? I mean, are you looking in this program to become a freelancer and continue as a freelancer and open an entrepreneurial company, something else?
Well, right now I want to be like a freelancer and continue my hopes as a private English teacher.
As a private English teacher?
Yes.
And is there any challenges facing you as a freelancer in private tutoring?
Well, there is many problems, but when I manage my time, it will be easy for me.
Okay, so it's about time.
Yes.
All right, that's very good. And we hope all the best for you, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now introducing the second speaker, Abdussalam al-Nabhani, who's a real estate agent. And real estate freelancing in Oman is a very common thing which is actually never been addressed as freelancers. So maybe we will give Abdussalam the mic now to speak about his freelancing journey.
Yes. السلام عليكم جميعا. أول حاجة مساء الخير. طبعا بداية أشكر شركة أوكسي وشركة واللجنة الوطنية للتشغيل وكذلك شركة أوج على شغلهم الجبار وعلى إتاحة الفرصة لنا جميعا كفئة من الشباب. بداية بتكلم عن الشركة. شركتي هي المنصة العقارية أو مسماها المنصة العقارية. ابتديت فيها من 2021. فالسوق العقاري هنا في سلطنة عمان يعتبر من الأسواق اللي المنافسة والتنافسية فيها كبيرة كثير. فاحتجت إني أنا أتعلم واحتجت إني أنا يعني أكتسب مهارات عشان أكون مواكب للسوق كذلك. فالحمد لله أخذت يعني بعض من الكورسات اللي هم الديجيتال ليدرشيب وكذلك الديتا أناليس. فادوني كثير من ناحية جاهزيتي للتعلم وكذلك يعني ديجيتال ليدرشيب فادني في اني اقدر مثلا ادخل في ميتينجز اونلاين، اقدر يعني ادير الميتينجز، اتحاور مع المشترين مع الوسطاء الثانيين. فصراحة كانت فرصة كبيرة بالنسبة لي وكذلك اشكر يعني على هذه الفرصة اللي يعني اتاحت لي إني أكون الحين هنا معكم.
شكرا عبد السلام. Wanted to ask you why you took a data analyst course. So, do you think that did you take the data analyst because there is a challenge of finding data in the real estate market in the Sultanate of Oman, or is it more related to you wanting to, for example, sell the data that you get from the people who want to sell their lands, or so what made you take a data analyst as a course?
طيب الداتا اناليست اللي الحلو فيها انه انت تقدر تضرب عصفورين بحجر واحد، فيما معنى انه انا ممكن اني ابيع الداتا اللي بحصلهم ان ايثيكال واي. والشيء الثاني انه يعني ممكن استفيد من هذا انه انا اعرف وين التركيز الاكبر على السوق العقاري في عمان. فاستفدت من الكورس الاول من الكورس الثاني باكبر طريقه ممكنه.
And which platform did you use for, let's say, providing your services? So do you do it on WhatsApp? Do you do it on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn? What social media platform are you using at the moment?
الحين مش حاولت كبداية إن أنقص من قيمة الإكسبنسز اللي ممكن أطلعهم. فبداية بديت بالمنصة على الانستغرام. that's why يعني خذيت الديجيتال ليدرشيب، وعلى الواتساب. وأحيانا إذا يعني يحتاج الوضع، طبعا في السوق العقاري مثل ما الكل عارف لازم تكون اللقاءات على أرض الواقع بحيث يكون التواصل أفضل يعني.
Alright, thank you very much. Thank you. And now we move on to our digital artist, who is a totally different, let's say, path than the previous two. One is to do with mentorship and lecturing, and the other one is to do with real estate. And we move on to something that is actually done on social media. Asala, welcome.
هلا وسهلا، مساء الخير. معكم أصالة البطاشي، خريجة هندسة مدنية. مختلف كليا عن الهواية اللي أنا جالسة أبنيها. بصراحة بديت أنا كتصميم، كانت فقط هواية مني. كنت أحب أحرر الصور، أعدل فيها، أضيف لها لمساتي الخاصة. فبمساعدة الأهل بصراحة هم كان الداعم الأقوى. كانوا هم يطلبوا مني أصمم لهم تصاميم أعياد، عيد ميلاد، وهذه الأشياء. كانت بدايتي من الصفر تماما، يعني بدون أي رأس مال. أنا بديت كنت أشتغل على البرامج البسيطة اللي بدون أي مبلغ مادي. فبديت بعدين تخرجت من الكلية، فقلت أنا ليش أنتظر الوظيفة وكذا، فأفتح لي منصة على الانستغرام وأبدأ أصمم. بفضل من الله أن من الانستغرام فقط قدرت أطلع أرباح، بحيث أخذ لي آيباد عشان يعني أوسع البرامج وأشتري البرامج الأقوى. بديت أشتري البرامج اللي فيها دفع مادي، اللي أشتريها بفلوس. بفضل من الله قدرت أصمم لوجوز، شعارات، أصمم بوسترات، حتى وصلت لمرحلة أقدر أمسك حساب انستغرام كامل من ال A to Z، أصمم كل شيء فيه. ونفس الوقت أقدر أفعل الستوريز، أنزل كل يوم، أقدر أحدد إيش الأوقات المناسبة اللي يشوفوا فيها الناس، اللي يتابعوا أكثر، نحصل فولورز أكثر. كل هذه المهارات قدرت أبنيها من الدوت نكست. السنة الماضية الحمد لله سنحت لي الفرصة إني أدخل دوت نكست، وخذيت الديجيتال ماركتينج، ومنه قدرت أطور نفسي وتعمقت من التصميم إلى الماركتينج دخلت. فهو كله متواصل على بعضه، يعني أصمم من هنا وأسوق لنفسي من هنا. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلت لمرحلة إني أصمم شعارات محلات، عطور، هذه الأمور كلها. من الصعوبات اللي مريت فيها هي الكاستمر ساتسفاكشن. صعب جدا إن أنا بيني وبين نفسي أقول هذا حلو جميل جدا، بس يجي الكاستمر يقول لي إيش هذا، فتجيني صدمة. بعدين صرت خلاص تعديت هذه الصدمات وتعودت يعني إن يجي الكاستمر يصدمني وكذا، فعادي تماما. هو اللي عشان توصل الكاستمر ساتسفاكشن لازم تسأل أكثر قبل، لأن أنت ما تعرف هو إيش في رأيه، إيش اللي يفكر فيه. والحمد لله هذه السنة دخلت دوت نكست مرة ثانية، كانت فرصة لي. بس هذه المرة دخلت إلى محتوى آخر اللي هو البروجكت مانجمنت، لأني أنا كسيفل انجينير البروجكت مانجمنت بعد يساعدني في ماي كارير وهذه الأشياء.
شكرا ما شاء الله، very insightful صراحة، والله يوفقك. one question اللي هو من التصميم، هل تفكر انك انت تتجهي الى مثلا تغيير التخصص، مثلا مش تغيير التخصص لكن نقول ايجاد تخصص جديد او انشاء شركة لها علاقة بال creating content on social media and moving away from civil engineering?
I'm working on both.
You're working on both. Okay.
يس يعني الحمد لله بفضل من الله قدرت إني أسوي التايم مانجمنت. أنا الحين ما عندي وظيفة، مسرحة من العمل، لكن نفس الوقت جالسة أبحث عن وظيفة.
ممتاز.
هذا شيء خارج عن إرادتي، بس اللي في إرادتي اللي هو البزنس مالي.
ممتاز.
هذه قوتي الحين، يعني أنا متمسكة فيها لأن هي الدخل
ممتاز
مالي.
ممتاز جدا. و to be honest, everyone I think everyone here in this hall has a let's say a major، ماخذ تخصص لكن قد يشتغل في تخصص آخر. مثلا أنا دارس تخطيط عمراني لكني جالس معاكم اليوم مش في المدينة جالس أصمم ولا أخطط المدينة، لأنه ما غلط الشخص to get actually يبدأ يشتغل في تخصص غير تخصصه إذا كان يحس إنه في شغف. الواحد يتبع شغفه لأن الشغف هو أهم شيء. فبالعكس أهنيك بصراحة، ممتاز ممتاز جدا. شكرا صالح. ننتقل إلى محمد البرواني، copywriter and he's also a freelancer. وبصراحة I tried to search what is a copywriter, I did not understand. فزين تعطينا نبذة.
الكوبي رايتر هو التسويق عبر الإيميل. الإيميل كوبي رايتنج هو تسويق عبر الإيميل. فالشركات يعني تبحث، يعني أنت ككوبي رايتر تبحث يعني عبر فالكوبي رايتر يبحث عن أصحاب شركات أو رجال أعمال ليسوق حالهم عبر إيميل.
So it's only related to emails.
الإيميل كوبي رايتنج.
Okay.
نعم.
So it's let's say freelancing in one segment which is emails, or through one platform which is emails. Okay. And which courses did you take in the .next?
أنا دخلت بايثون وبعدين بايثون جافا الفيز 1. فيز 2 دخلت داتا اناليست.
Okay. And you wish to start a new freelancing segment on within this from Python training and also from data collecting and analyzing.
لا الحين أفضل لي أركز على الكوبي رايتنج. إذا أكثر من شيء بتكون ما تبدع في شيء واحد.
Okay.
أيوة.
And there is a market for it. Copywriting as a freelancer. ممتاز جدا. Okay. I think, to be honest, the first time I knew that emailing had a consumer market for it, I thought I was the only one who's deleting emails always. But apparently people actually read. It's a very good thing, to be honest. Let's give them a very warm applause. لأنه they are very magnificent, ما شاء الله عليهم. Thank you, all of you, and I hope all the best for you and to see more freelancers in the coming days, inshallah. So now we will move on to the business owners, and this is our last segment in this inauguration event. I would like to invite all the business owners to come up to the stage, please, and give them a warm applause for them to break the ice. بعدين محمد، بعدين سجى، بعدين خالد، محمد هنا، سجى هنا، واحد محمد هنا، خالد هنا. تبغى توقف؟ اوكي مشكلة. Is there فاطمة الريامي؟ Fahad, do best again, sure. So the first panel was about freelancing and freelancers who we have in the program. And now we move on to people who actually own businesses. Some are sole traders, so they are in a business, but they are doing it solely by themselves, and some of them are actually owning companies. So we will start with Zainab al-Musawi, who will be talking about Glaze Om. So please go ahead.
So my background is different from what I'm doing right now. My background is transportation logistics management. I've started Glaze this year, September. I postponed my idea for 2 years. It was a mistake to postpone your ideas, so don't. I didn't know when it's the right time to start until I actually started. And whenever I kept postponing my idea, there was a barrier, and whenever I postponed more and more, those barriers started growing until I set a starting date. It's just like an assignment. It's something that I love, that I'm passionate about. That's why I started Glaze to sell tarts, which I bake them with so much love. So I want those pieces of love to be delivered to everyone, and I'm passionate about this thing that I'm doing. The paths that I've chosen in .next, they're marketing to help me to enhance my information in marketing sector and to implement it in my business.
Great. So you actually postponed it for 2 years until you started it.
Yes, it was a mistake.
That's really good. At least you started. And when I looked through your Instagram page, your tarts look very nice. So I wished we had some tarts here, but unfortunately, next time, inshallah, we were promised.
Yeah.
All right. And you are now thinking of working on the marketing of your products.
Yes.
Okay. And are you looking to expand from a sole trader into, for example, a business which has, let's say, 3 to 4 bakers under you, or are you looking just to stay limiting it to a sole trader business?
No, I'm thinking to expand it to a bakery. Like, it's not just like for tarts, but
Okay.
it's a 10 years future plan.
Okay. So let's say your final milestone will be to actually have a bakery with a restaurant and coffee within it.
Yes, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. That's great. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Mohammed Al-Farsi, the owner of UMGS. Mohammed has a different case this time. He did not start it, but he was given the responsibility to run it. So Mohammed, maybe you can now give us a brief about yourself and UMGS.
Assalamu alaikum awal shay. First thing, this company actually it is owned by my father. So you can say it's like a family business, and the path that I have entered is mechanical engineering. So it's the same path that for this type of company, because we are actually fabricating the roadside barrier, and we are also providing this services, which is galvanizing service, it's like a coat which is on the metal, so that it helps in increasing the life of the metal of the usage. For example, the light poles, which is in the roads, they are they are affected by the environmental impacts, which they need something which protect them. So the galvanizing service will, it's like a layer of coat which helps in protecting this metal from rusting. The fabrication section, it is we're in the roadside barrier, and inshallah we're trying to open a new sector, which is electrical poles, fabrication of it. That's it.
Great. So actually, 3D printing might be a thing that you are interested in.
Yes, I saw that one before, like around 1 month. This one about this 3D courses and those things, and I think I would like to be in it, because it will help a lot in the fabrication section.
And was it easy to take on the responsibility of running something this
If you're willing
massive?
to take the risk, then I think yes.
Okay, that's great.
It's better,
And you are to do with metals, basically. So it's a factory.
It's a factory.
Okay.
It's a factory. Mainly it is like, it's like we buy the material, the raw material.
Okay.
Then the fabrication is done by our factory.
Did you take Scrum?
Yes, I did.
Because it will help you a lot.
Yes, I did, because the Scrum is like the course which is the Scrum is because it shows you of how to go through to the process in fabrication, for example, in all type of business, not in fabrication or something. But this process the thing that I have learned from the Scrum is how to go to the processes from A to Z.
Yes, yes. All right. Thank you, Mohammed, very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Now we move on to Saja, the owner of SJ Collection, and it's a abaya business. Maybe you can then give some coupons to the people attending this session. You will have a very big number of customers, inshallah.
Yeah.
All right, give us a brief about your business, please.
So first of all, let me expressing my gratitude to everyone who gave me this chance to speak in front of this decent audience, and of course giving me a chance to introduce myself first and share my experience in this program. And also I consider it as a marketing for my business. Okay, so actually I have graduated from Sultan Qaboos University, and my major was soil science. So it's something different than designing abaya. But you know, as a first step of achieving many more goals in the near future, I launched my business. My business, the brand is SJ Collection, and actually you can find it on Instagram. So, as I said, my background is purely scientific. That's why I was searching about something which is enrich my business knowledge. And it was a great choice to enroll to this program. And in phase one, I have choosing two courses. The first one was digital marketing, and the second one was introduction to business analysis. And actually, both courses has given me an opportunity to investigate new approaches intended to improve my business. And also in phase two, I have choosing a path that give me more knowledge and acquire several skills.
That's great to hear. Is your abayas tailored by you, or do you take it from, like, say, vendors and, like, for example, let's say if you would like to expand your business, Are you thinking of having, for example, a factory of textile in the textile industry?
This will be the future.
Future.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
But the last point is that if anyone have small idea, so it's the time to just start to apply it.
Very important. Yes. I'm sure here we have at least 100 ideas sitting here just waiting to come out to the light. But inshallah, we will see them in the coming days. All right, now we move on to Khalid, and he's the owner of Khaltech. It's a very smart solution, let's say, and I'm actually very excited to hear. Unfortunately, I wanted to buy, but it's out of stock. So, Khalid, you can now speak about your business.
Assalamu alaikum. It's my pleasure to be with you here, guys. So my name is Khalid Saeed Al-Harthi. I am an electronics and telecom engineer. So I started my company, which is called Caltech. Can you please apply it in the presentation? Okay. So Caltech, we produce innovative products. Okay, that makes your life easier. So our first product is Teeb. Teeb incense burner. It's the first and only incense burner, smart incense burner in the world. So Teeb is like Nespresso. Nespresso will make for you a coffee. Teeb will burn for you an incense, and you can get it automatically without any human interaction. So what's Teeb? Actually, it has several features. It has incense storage system. You can store the incense inside the device, and then you can use it for different time. It has 3 different timing settings. It has quick use, intervals, and also specific time. You can move on. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, so as you can see, all in one. You don't need for charcoal, no need for lighter, no need for gas, nothing. It's just in one device. Yeah, please move on. Yeah, so it's safe. It operates by 12 volts only. It has storage system. You can store the incense once a month only, same as Nespresso. Nespresso using capsules. Here you use also incense packs. And then it has 3 different timing settings. Let's say you want every day 7:30 morning at your office, you want to burn incense. No need to call everyone, the office boy, no need for that. You just set it one time and forget it. Every day at 7:30 a.m., the incense automatically will take small amount of incense. It will put it on the heater. The heater will operate for a few minutes. You can control the amount of the smoke. And then automatically it has a self-cleaning system. It will clean itself, and all the ashes and burnt incense will be gathered at the bottom. Same as Nespresso. All the capsules is gathered in one storage. Same here in Teeb. Everything will be gathered at the bottom. And then after 1 month, you only have to put it back, and you have to fill it back again. Yeah, please, can you move again? Yeah, so we produce the product in Oman. We are dealing with more than 15 manufacturers in China, and then we do the assembly in Oman. Every device takes only 15 minutes, so we can produce more than 2,000 units. Actually, we have already sold 1,600 units in last year, and we generated more than 130,000 revenue. This is only testing the market. Still, we didn't enter the market actually, because next year we're planning to enter the GCC market. So actually, you cannot enter the, for example, Saudi market with 2,000 units. At least you need 10,000 units in order to enter these huge markets. Please, yes, move on. Yeah. So what's the R&D history, the research and development? Actually, the idea started with me when I was 13 years old in grade 8. So in 2006, I didn't have any technology background. So I just kept the idea and I just drew it. And then in 2012, when I entered the college, then I made the first prototype. Okay, just to prove the concept. And then in 2015, I joined TRC, the Research Council. And then we start developing the product professionally. And then we enter the market in 2019. So it's 13 years journey of development, research and development, and only one idea. So you have to focus at least in one idea in order to execute it. Yes, please. So in .next, thank you guys for this program. Actually, I took 2 courses, which is IoT and the robotics. So we are trying, inshallah, our next version of TIP. Inshallah, it will be connected and implemented with IoT. So you can control your TIP device automatically from your work, office, anywhere, using your phone application, and you can use it wirelessly. So thank you guys for that. Thank you for listening, and please get TIP and get the best smell of incense. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. I think this is very impressive, to be honest. From 2006 up to 2019, just for research and development, you, mashallah, are very patient. Because I know people who change their idea every 2 days. So this is very, very impressive, to be honest. So thank you very much. I just have one question. So you said that you are now ready to start launching in the Omani market.
We have already sold 1,600 units.
As a soft
80%
launch.
in Oman.
Okay.
Yeah, just testing the market, because when you have innovative product, you cannot produce 10,000 units just for that, because we faced a lot of issues, technical issues in the product. So we started with this few numbers of products, 1,600, just to test the market and to test the demand. Is there demand or not? And we saw that, mashallah, there is a lot of demand. So now we are producing more units for...
I'm sure the firefighters will be relieved, actually. Because most of the fires here in Oman start from Bukhur. So this is very good.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
And now we move to the last part, and with the last person, Fatma. She will be talking about perfumes and perfumery, which is a very old and ancient and traditional part of our Omani culture. And she has found a way to actually renew it, and it's a very nice product which she will be talking about. So please start.
معكم فاطمة الغيامي، أحد شركاء لورا للعطور. الشريك الآخر هو اللي عنده الشهادة المعتمدة دوليا لتصنيع العطور. لورا معناه إكليل الغار، وإكليل الغار يرمز للحب والقوة، فنحن نصنع عطورنا بحب، والكاستمرز هو القوة حالنا. طبعا مثل أي مشروع يواجه بداياته تحديات، مشاكل، فكانت من أكثر المشاكل اللي واجهتنا كيف نقدم أو نوصل لأكبر شريحة من الكاستمرز. فكان بداية الماركتينج، بدينا في التسويق الممول عن طريق الانستغرام والفيسبوك، لكن للأسف ما وصلنا للعدد المطلوب في البداية، فعكس ما بين التسويق الميداني، فممكن بسبب ان المنتج عطر فيحتاج تجربة او انه في احد مقرب انه، فهذا هو.
ممتاز جدا. and هذا العطر او هذا الباكجينج تسووه محليا ولا عن طريق فندرز؟
تغليف وكل شيء محليا.
أوكي.
بس كصناعة بسبب انه بعدنا مشروع صغير فاستعنا بمصانع خارجية، لكن كمكونات وككل شيء نحن معطينهم تفاصيل كاملة.
And if you were, let's say you took the 3D fabrication and you were able to actually 3D fabricate your perfumes in Oman, you will of course be more than happy to do so. And what does your ingredients, the perfume ingredients themselves, do you bring them locally or do you also acquire them through vendors? Because we have a very big market for perfumes in Oman also.
Yeah.
So how do you distinct yourself in the market? إيش اللي يميزك في السوق العماني? Let's say إذا قلنا one selling point يميزكم كشركة.
كشركة إنه صعب.
بس سؤال مهم.
أيوة مهم جدا. شوف اللي يميزنا إن نحن يعني نكون قريبين من الكاستمرز. شو الكاستمرز اللي يحبوا؟ يعني نحن بدينا إنتاجنا كعطور شرقية، لأن السوق عندنا في عمان يحب العطور الشرقية القريبة للمسك، العود. فقربنا للكاستمرز المحلي هو اللي قوة.
So you're saying that also data to you is very important. Data مالت السوق، المارket research. وانتوا طبعا تسووا ماركت ريسيرش عن ايش الكاستمر يحب. ممتاز ممتاز جدا. Thank you Fatma very much. Thank you. And I would like to thank everyone sitting here in this podium. Also, you are great guys. Keep going, and we are very proud of you. And this is why we actually showcase you as the pride of .next with the freelancers and also everyone sitting here from our affiliates. We are very proud of you. So applaud them and applaud yourselves also. So I think we can conclude this event. طولنا عليكم, لكن thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. And inshallah, okay, هذا لازم صورة جماعية. إنزين, we will hope to see you again soon, and I'm sure we will be seeing you in our follow-up sessions with you guys. I will sure see your names in the ticketing system. This I'm sure of. And we will gather all together now for a group picture, because this is our tradition in .next events. We always gather together for a group picture. So please gather around. And thank you very much. Huh? Of course, after the group picture, we invite you to have lunch with us. Thank you very much.